What's up? Welcome back. Today we are in John chapter 2, and the title of that text is Jesus Cleanses the Temple, starting in verse 1. And the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there, and both Jesus was called and his disciples to the marriage. Verse 1 through 2. Third day is probably counted from Jesus' encounter with Nathanael. Cana of Galilee was later the site of Jesus' third sign. The second sign performed in Cana was in chapter 4:54. Jesus' disciples probably included the five mentioned marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said unto him, They have no wine. Jesus said unto her, Woman, what have I to do with this? My hour is not yet come. Verse 4. Jesus' use of woman to address his mother established a polite but firm distance between them, as did his question, What have I to do with thee? Come. His mother said unto the servants, Whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. Verse 5. Mary's instruction, Whatsoever he said unto you, do it, recalls Pharaoh's instructions in Genesis 41:55. Do it. And there was set there 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkin apiece. Verse 6. The 6 jars may indicate incompleteness, since 7 represented fullness. Their combined capacity was as much as 180 gallons. The purifying ritual may have involved the washing of the guests' hands and certain utensils used at the wedding. Peace. Jesus said unto them, Fill the water pots with water, and they filled them up to the brim. And he said unto them, Draw out now, and bear unto the governor of the feast. And they bare it. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew, the governor of the feast called the bridegroom, and said unto him, verse 8 through 9. The governor may have been the head waiter in charge of catering. He supervised the serving of food and drink, and employed several servants. The bridegroom, and said unto him, Every man at the beginning does set forth good wine, and when men have all drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. Verse 11. The fact that Jesus' turning of water into wine at the wedding is called the beginning of miracles in Cana of Galilee leads the reader to expect more signs to follow. The phrases he manifested forth his glory and his disciples believed on him hark back to chapter 1, verse 14. After this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and they continued there not many days. Verse 12. Jesus went down from Cana in the hill country to Capernaum, situated by the Sea of Galilee. Capernaum was about 15 miles northeast of Cana and could be reached in a day's journey. Capernaum served as Jesus' headquarters after John the Baptist's imprisonment in Matthew 4:12 through 13. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. And verse 13. This is the first reference to a Jewish festival in John's Gospel at the first reference to Passover. Later, John referred to two more Passovers at chapter 6, verse 4, Jesus in Galilee, and 11, verse 55, and 12, verse 1, Jesus' final Passover in Jerusalem. Beyond this, Matthew 12:1 may refer to another Passover not recorded in John. If so, Jesus' ministry included 4 Passovers and extended over about 3½ years, spanning from AD 29 to 33. Apart from these Passover references, John also mentioned Jesus' activities at an unnamed Jewish festival in chapter 5, verse 1, possibly Tabernacles, at the Feast of Tabernacles in chapter 7, verse 2, and at the Feast of Dedication, or Hanukkah, in chapter 10, verse 22. People are described as traveling up to Jerusalem because it was located at the higher elevation than Galilee, Jerusalem, and found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the changers of money sitting. And verse 14. Merchants selling oxen and sheep and doves, and money changers exchanging idle free coins for those tainted with pagan engravings, eased the logistical burden on pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem from afar by providing them with appropriate animals and coins for sacrifices and offerings. But conducting their business within the temple, however, they disrupted worship and obstructed the temple's purpose. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drew them all out of the temple and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables, and said unto them that sold doves, Take these things hence, make not my Father's house a house of merchandise. And his disciples remembered that it was written, The zeal of thine house has eaten me up. Verse 17. Jesus' clearing of the temple reminded his disciples of the righteous sufferers in Psalm 69:9. Me up. Then answered the Jews and said unto him, What sign showest thou unto us, seeing that thou doest these things? Jesus answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Then said the Jews, 46 years was the temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spoke in the temple of his body. When therefore he was risen from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this unto them, and they believed the scripture and the word which Jesus had said. Now, verse 13 through 22. By clearing the temple, Jesus displayed zeal for God's house and performed a sign of judgment on the Jewish leaders who had allowed worship to deteriorate into commerce. The Synoptic Gospels record a later clearing just before the crucifixion in Mark 11:15 through 19. Verse 22. The scripture may be Psalm 69:9 cited in John 2:17. The word which Jesus has said refers to verse 19. It said, Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover and the feast day, many believed in his name, when they saw the miracles which he did. But Jesus did not commit himself unto them, because he knew all men, and needed not that any should testify of man, for he knew what was in man.